Hey there, my name is Alex and I am the Mont, and this video is going to focus on a rather specific, but perhaps under-discussed topic of the Dark Souls world, the spread of the Undead Curse. This topic and video is a Patreon request, and considering how important the curse is in Dark Souls, we really don't know too much about it. Can it be transmitted from one to the other? How obvious are its symptoms? And just how do you contract it? The first Dark Souls gives us perhaps our best look at the curse. Amongst the living are seen carriers of the dark sign, a brand on your flesh that marks you as undead. Let's have a look at how the first game describes it. The dark sign signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. Death triggers the dark sign, which returns its bearer to the last bonfire rested at, but at the cost of all humanity and souls. The use of the word branded almost implies it is deliberate to some extent, but so far as we know, nobody is branding others with the dark sign, so it is probably more of a natural occurrence. Is it possible to actively seek out and obtain a dark sign? To spread it to others, as you might a common cold? We know that humans can become undead, but what about others? Can Gwyn's race of lords or gods receive the dark sign? What about animals? Certainly we'll come across giant undead rats and dogs and the like, but they don't appear to have physical dark signs, so I'm assuming it's more of a human-only condition. And the implication is that the dark sign only appears when the fire begins to fade. And even now there are only embers, and amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign, and so forth. We know that, but what is the purpose of it? Uria of Londor, Lord Ordia, and King Vendrick all appear to be under the assumption that undead, or more specifically hollows, are the true form of humanity. That, because of the fire, humans assumed a fleeting form. Is that to say their mortality and human appearance? But if that is true, is there some difference between sentient hollows and literal hollows? By which I mean, the player can turn hollow and turn into a sausage, but hollowing for other characters seems to imply they haven't just lost their humanity but have become an empty shell, like a mindless zombie. Do Vendrick and co believe that is the true form of humanity? Hard to say exactly, but it hardly seems a coincidence that as the fire fades, the dark sign begins to appear. Perhaps it is related to the bearer of the curse, by which I don't mean the protagonist of Dark Souls 2, but literally those who bear the curse. For example, if you have two humans and one of them possesses more humanity or more souls than the other, perhaps the dark sign would show up on them sooner than it might on the other. Or maybe the reverse is true, those who are weaker and lack humanity are closer to being undead. Either way, it's interesting that whilst in our real world, being undead is, of course, unnatural, it is a perversion of nature, whereas in Dark Souls being undead appears to be the true form of humans. As for how it spreads, I do not believe it can be given or passed from one to another through normal means, but considering we are able to absorb Anri's Dark Sigil with the Sword of Avowal in Dark Souls 3, perhaps it is possible. Unfortunately, said Sword of Avowal has no useful information on it, nor does any NPC offer satisfactory explanation of the actual rite. Irrespective of the truth, however, people certainly feared the dark sign, considering they locked up anyone they found with it. Makes you wonder, did they go from house to house searching people? Could people hide the dark sign and try to remain within civilization? Not exactly a very nice fate though, is it? If you were unfortunate enough to be branded, you're locked away to await the end of the world. One of the key themes of Dark Souls 2 was a deep curse, and it is in fact the game which most heavily focuses on the curse, which I find interesting. We see more of the effects it has on the undead, and in general it plays a very large role in the game. Indeed, the very motivation for our character's journey to Drangleic is linked to it. Rather than escaping an asylum they were locked up in, or waking up in a untended grave, they travel to a land rich in souls that might ease their suffering, to search for a way to break free from this curse. And of course, the unofficial nickname for the player in Dark Souls 2 is bearer of the curse on top of that. We also meet the character Lucatiel, who slowly succumbs to the curse throughout the course of the game, losing her memories and sense of self, which becomes an obsession for her. The dark sign in Dark Souls 2 reads as follows: "Do what you must to gather the pieces, scraping them into some semblance of a whole, before the will to do so fades." Salden, the Crestfallen, remarks that the curse is traceable to the soul. What this means is up for debate. Vendrick and Aldir sought to understand the very nature of souls, as the Emerald Herald puts it. He who peered at the essence of the soul. And we know that Vendrick came to the conclusion that we are doomed to repeat this cycle of linking the fire. That he also came to the conclusion that being undead, or hollow, is our natural form. If all of this is related to the soul, does that mean that the soul itself is what makes us mortal? We know of several types of soul in the games. First up, you have your standard souls that are white or gold, depending on how you look at it. Then you have corrupted souls, such as the soul of Artorias that was corrupted by the Abyss. The dark soul, of which humanity appears to be a fragment. And finally, crystallized souls, which appear to be white or gold souls that have been changed by an external factor and become blue, much like the corrupted souls. For the most part though, we have light souls and dark souls. Gwyn and co only possess light souls, unless, like Artorias, they are corrupted. So why do humans possess both light souls and humanity / the dark soul? Could that have something to do with it? Is it because when the fire starts to fade, the soul that makes us human begins to fade, and the dark sign and the dark soul become more prevalent? Incidentally, on a semi-related final note for Dark Souls 2, in the Japanese release, the pursuer is known as the Cursed One, although who knows if it is the same type of curse we are talking about though. As for Dark Souls 3, there's very little talk about the curse for the most part during the game. Several characters remark that we are nameless, accursed undead, and all that, but for the most part it is relegated to the NPCs from Londor, the Land of Hollows, Yol and Yuria. Although on that note, Yol offers us a very interesting service. Whereas usually in Dark Souls we level up by taking ownership of sovereignless souls, Yol is able to increase our power simply by manipulating our humanity and increasing the strength of our Dark Sigil. And the Dark Sigil itself is something different from the Dark Sign. A black, gaping hole in the flesh that resembles the brand of an undead. The darkness of humanity seeps from this bottomless pitch-black hole, the gap filled by the accumulation of the curse. The Dark Sigil will never heal, but there is a tale told of a firekeeper who returned from the abyss, and brought great comfort to a bearer of the curse. So it resembles the brand of an undead, it resembles the Dark Sign, but it isn't the Dark Sign. I'm not really sure what to make of that. But as we die, we become more hollow. And as we become more hollow, Yol is able to increase our Dark Sigil. Does that mean the curse is growing stronger? That he is drawing more of the latent curse out? That he is drawing more power out from the curse as it grows stronger? As our light soul diminishes, the dark soul grows stronger? And once we absorb Anri's Dark Sigil, which suggests that Anri himself had hollowed quite significantly, we are deemed a worthy lord by Yuria, and we are able to usurp the fire. Does it mean that our curse is now strong enough to seize the first flame? To control it? Outside of the Undead Curse, we also have the Basilisk Curse of Petrification. Are they linked? I can't really see how they would be, but the Purging Stone from the first Dark Souls does offer some interesting insight. Humans are helpless against curses, and can only redirect their influence. The Purging Stone does not dispel curses, but receives them as a surrogate. The stone itself was once a person, or some other being. We are helpless against them and can only redirect their influence. Makes you wonder, those who established the Northern Undead Asylum and the Lost Bastille, did they try and use Purging Stones or some other means to remove their curse and give it to another? As far as we know, it is impossible to escape or break the curse, but very powerful souls can keep it at bay, which again throws back to the light soul versus dark soul topic. If your light soul is powerful enough, it can almost banish the darkness within, although not entirely. This becomes the eventual goal of the bearer of the curse. With the help of King Vendrick, the bearer of the curse is able to harness the power for immensely powerful lords. The Iron King, the Sunken King, the Ivory King, and Vendrick himself, the King of Want, and channel their power into the symbol of their lordship, the crowns. And when wearing these crowns, blessed by Vendrick, the bearer of the curse is able to escape the effects of the curse. So in a sense, even if the curse cannot be cured, it can be treated to some extent. But only the bearer of the curse, so far as we know, has ever managed that. Prince Lothric was able to lessen his own curse by sharing it with his older brother Lorien, which seems to have involved a fusion of their souls into one. But we don't know if that particular curse was the Undead Curse, or a curse more specific to Prince Lothric. In the end, I'm afraid I don't have any real answers for the spread of the curse. Strayed remarks that people feared the curse like a plague, but his language implies to me that he considers them wrong, that there is no real danger of catching the curse from another undead. After all, Strayed doesn't seem to consider himself cursed, and he has no qualms with interacting with us, who very much are cursed. Strayed also remarks that it is our cursed flesh that will inherit the flame. Did he mean to reference how we can link the fire? Was he somehow referencing Uria's belief that the age of the gods is well and truly over, and that now humans must take ownership of the flame? Well, what are you prepared to believe? Let me know in the comments below.